All right, let's go. We're live here on Recher Reacts. Had to wait until that Sunday night game between the Falcons and the Chiefs was done, but still mind, boggles my mind that you have fourth and inches and you're going east west instead of north south. For all the talk about how good Atlanta was going to be this year, and oh, they have Kirk Cousins, and oh, they have Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris. Why didn't I know there was a missed call in the end zone, but missed calls are part of the game. Why did they go for it on fourth down? Why didn't they just kick? If they would have kicked the field goal, they would have been with him two, and then you didn't have to worry about that last play. You would have two field goals, you would have won the game. You're moving the ball. You had issues in the red zone. Again, it's just weird. Sometimes you outthink yourself. This is why I wasn't high on the Atlanta Falcons, not being able to close. 1-2 through three games in the National Football League season. They should be 0-3. They're lucky that Philadelphia screwed it up as bad as they did. They are very, very fortunate to not be winless on this season. Wow. Egregious, egregious. And listen, it's weird because like you look at what happened today with the Buccaneers. More on that here momentarily, but it's almost like you kind of feel better as the day goes on. The Panthers won. We're not necessarily concerned with them, but you see how New Orleans lost at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then you see the Falcons lose tonight. I still think the Lightning still got hockey on the brain. The Buccaneers are in a good spot, even though they're 2-1 after three games. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be 2-1 after three games anyway. They just probably thought that they were going to lose to Detroit and beat Denver, but here we are after three games, 2-1, tied for first place in the NFC South. Welcome to Retro Reacts. Jay Retro here with you. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms right here: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. I am everywhere, and hopefully you can follow me on there too. Like and subscribe here on YouTube. On YouTube, every single like and subscription definitely helps. What we're going to talk about on the show today: a healthy heaping of the Buccaneers lost to the Broncos. What the hell happened there? The worst part of the Bucs loss to the Broncos was blank. I want you guys to fill in the blank because I think there is plenty of blame to go around. We're going to go very in depth on this tomorrow, starting at noon on Jay and Zach. I know my guys Pat and Aaron starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow. We'll get a crack on it. Tom Krasnicki already did his thing on the overtime show, but he'll get back at it at 3 o'clock. A full day of Buccaneers talk on WDAE, but I didn't want to let my head hit the pillow without giving my 2 cents here on the program tonight. Also, six winless teams, six teams that were 0-2 going into this weekend picked up their first win. And ironically enough, I think they all picked, like, nobody played another winless team. Like, it was kind of crazy. There's a lot of 2-1 and a lot of 1-2 teams so far in the NFL season. So, which one of those six games was the most impressive first win? We'll get into that. And then also, we're going to finish it up. I mentioned this on my 5 games to watch this weekend. I have to talk about it because I think a lot of people are missing the boat here. Arsenal, Man City, they kicked off from the Etihad in Northwest, I think it's Northwest Manchester at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, and it was an instant classic. But I think the narrative from what everybody's talking about when it comes to this game, I think people are getting this all wrong and they're missing the entire picture of this. So we'll get into that at the end, but I want to start off talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And of course, I want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns. Feel free to leave them wherever you're watching, whether you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube. Let me know right here in the chat. The worst part about that Bucks loss was what? And listen, I think one part of it, the reason why it sucked so bad was that the USF got their asses kicked Saturday night, and then you go on Sunday afternoon thinking, hey, an inferior opponent on paper, this should be you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you're thinking, God, it's got to be a better outcome than we saw Saturday night. I think it's a fair question. What loss was worse? Which loss was worse? Was it USF's loss on my to Miami 50-15 on Saturday night? Or was it the Buccaneers loss 26-7 to the lowly Denver Broncos on Sunday afternoon? It's a fair question. But there's a lot of blame to go around. So I'm going to start with, I think, one of the biggest issues on this team, and that's the offensive line. Nobody, and I'm talking about nobody, is escaping blame for that game. Not Tristan Wirfs, not Graham Barton, not Ben Bredesen, and certainly not two of the biggest culprits on this entire team, Cody Malk and Justin School. And I've been saying this for weeks. Cody Malk has not been good enough. And when you have a guy like Elijah Klein, I know he was a late round draft pick, there's got to be some kind of competition for places, because I've been saying this even after the Buccaneers won the first 2 games of the season. He has not been good enough. If you watch me here, if you listen to the show every day, Cody Malk was getting ripped into during training camp. So this is not a surprise. Justin School, he's a backup. Obviously, you have to fix that. We get it. But Cody Malk, not good enough at all. I don't think Tristan Wirfs has played his best either. He's another guy that's got to pick it up. Graham Barton had a tough day. That offensive line let the Buccaneers down today in that game. And it goes hand in hand. Baker Mayfield wasn't good today. That pick to Mike Evans was, as soon as it came out of his hand, you knew that it was trouble. And those are the games right there that people watch when they see Baker Mayfield and they go, that's why I'm not buying him yet. That's why I don't have full faith that he can be that guy. And I got to be honest, I'm in that camp too. We have this conversation on Jay and Zach a lot about looking at Baker Mayfield. And I don't think he is the quarterback that can lead this Buccaneers team to a Super Bowl because of games like that. He's tough. He's gritty. He's got incredible heart. I love the way he plays quarterback. I have no issues with his effort one bit. I think he's a great teammate. But there is games like today where he is a big part of the problem he's not a part of the solution, he's part of the problem. And it wasn't that he just threw the pick to Mike Evans. There was a couple of other plays down that right sideline that it affected Baker Mayfield. There was one throw to Chris Godwin that he had him wide open. If you guys remember, there was a play after the interception where he rolled out to his right and he only got like a yard or two, but he took a huge hit. Chris Godwin was wide open down the right sideline, but he pulled it back. He pulled it down. He didn't want to throw it. He was afraid of throwing an interception. Then there was another throw later on in the game where Mike Evans was wide open. He eventually made the throw and Mike Evans caught it for a first down. But Mike was open for a good 2 to 3 seconds before that, where if he throws that ball earlier, maybe Mike can make the catch, turn and run. And now we're talking about, a totally different drive. But that was one of the worst games I think I've ever seen Baker Mayfield play in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. Not good enough. Not one bit. Next up, the running back position. Do we have to start having this conversation? I thought it was too early to have it. I thought, hey, Rachaad White is RB1. There's a lot that he does that goes under the radar, and he's a great pass catcher. He's a pretty durable guy. But there is a big difference when Rachaad White's toting the rock and Bucky Irving's toting the rock. Bucky just has that speed. As soon as that ball hits his hands, boom, he's cutting, he's running, he's trying to find the hole. It's just different, man. It's different. Rachaad doesn't do a great job of finding holes. Rachaad doesn't do a great job of breaking tackles. Is it a 50-50 split? I'm cool with that. And you're starting to see it. You got to get Bucky on the field. Wasn't good enough today for Rachaad White. And Bucky, I mean, you can hear it. When he's out there and he's making these plays, fans are chanting his name. That's the kind of guy you need out there. He's dangerous. Now, is he going to be as durable? Is he going to be as good of a pass catcher? Is he going to be as good of a pass blocker? We don't know that. We know Rachaad can do those other things. But your goal as a running back is to run the football first and foremost. And Bucky Irving right now through 3 games he's better. He's better than Rachaad White. It's clear as day. Also, what is going on with a guy, and I know a lot of people were very interested in seeing him play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, and people were saying, oh, they're drafting he's the replacement for Chris Godwin. We only saw one pass thrown to Jalen McMillan today. 1 catch for 6 yards. Now, granted, I know Mike Evans only had 2 catches for 17 yards, and it was kind of tough to get him into the game. But Chris Godwin, 6 catches, 53 yards, a touchdown. I wouldn't be so quick to get rid of Chris Godwin. Not when at certain times in the last couple of weeks, he's been really the only option in the passing game. Where has Mike Evans been the last 2 weeks? Not good enough against Detroit, Not certainly not good enough against Denver today. So you want to get rid of Chris Godwin, who looks like a freaking dynamo in this Liam Cohen offense? I wouldn't be so quick to do that. I wouldn't be so quick to hand the reins over to Jalen McMillan as wide receiver 2 on this team. No, sir. Liam Cohen deserves some blame in this game as well. Liam Cohen did not do a good enough job of putting Baker in a comfortable position, taking some of that heat off of school. We didn't see enough screen plays. That was a rough rush defense. You would think, like, man, find a way. And for all the things that we've said about Liam Cohen and his creativity, today was not his best effort. It really wasn't. He's got to be better. So that's on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, can somebody tell me when the Buccaneers are going to have a pass rush? Anybody? Everybody wants to tell me that Yaya Diaby's going to be a 15-sack guy. I haven't seen it. Joe Tryon Shoyinka, it's just, I don't think it's ever going to click for this guy. It's just not. A non-factor. The closest anybody really came to a sack today was Chris Braswell. Interior, of course you miss Greg Gaines. Excuse me. Of course you miss Kalijah Kancey. Of course you miss Vita Vea. I thought Logan Hall and Will Golston and Greg Gaines, like, held up okay. I wouldn't put it solely on them. They, of course, have to be better, but what do you expect when your 2 starters are not in there? Defensively, not good enough. Anthony Nelson, he got exposed today. All rough showing from number 98. That 4th down where he was able to get to the edge and then he kind of caught the stanky leg there. McLaughlin runs it in for the touchdown. That was kind of a microcosm of the game. That dude had 5 carries on 7 yards. That's 7 yards on 5 carries. Jaleel McLaughlin had 5 carries today for 7 yards and a touchdown. KJ Britt's got to make that tackle too. He's another guy where if you're that guy and you're helping and you're going to be a run stuffer and you're trying to hold off Servassier Dennis starting in that spot, those are the plays you have to make. I haven't seen KJ Britt be a playmaker at all in any of these 3 games. How often do you hear his name? How often do you see him flying all the way around the field? I didn't see it. You see Levante David making plays. Just not seeing it with KJ Britt. 6 tackles today. Jamel Dean, who had a tough day in coverage, 13 tackles. He's got to be better in coverage. Zion McCollum, he had 2 pass breakups. He's still, in my opinion, the better of the 2. But Jamel was pissed after the game. I don't think I've seen him act like that before in the locker room and the entire time he's been with the Buccaneers. He was sitting down. He wasn't even standing up and addressing the media. He was kind of answering their questions with his back turned. I didn't like the attitude of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after they lost this game today. It wasn't like pissed off attitude, like, it was weird. It was just a weird dynamic. I've been in losing locker rooms before in every sport, but today it was just like, it was almost like a sore loser type of attitude. Not like I'm pissed off, we're going to do better type attitude. I didn't appreciate that Bucky Irving and Rachaad White weren't in the locker room when we got in there. They hightailed that out of there so fast. I saw them. Rachaad White, love the guy. He's a great dude. But if you're going to do all of these media appearances in the offseason, if you're going to join us in studio, my friend, when you have a rough day, you have to stand up there and answer questions. That's the nature of the beast. I didn't make the rules. I just follow them. If I say something incorrect on the air, if I make a proclamation that isn't right, I can't say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to address the media. I'm not going to address the show today. I'm just going to take a day off. Can't do that. Sorry. I know it's obviously a little different, but it's just, you have to be accountable. I heard accountability from Levante David today. I didn't see it from guys like Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. I heard it from a guy like Graham Barton. For all the pass rushers that were hooting and hollering after the week 1 win, and they're all dapping each other up, acting like they set a record when it came to sacks, they were very, very morose today and very mundane, sitting at the corner of their locker. Don't expect them to be happy, but it was just a weird day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jake Camarda with some awful punts. Not good. Not good, Jake. Couple good ones, but you have to wonder if his time is ticking here in the Bay. And I thought Todd Bowles was outcoached by Sean Payton once again. He seems to be Todd Bowles' kryptonite. Now, when you lose to a rookie quarterback like that, a lot of it is how they scheme it up and how they run the football and how they play defense. And Denver punched Tampa Bay in the mouth today and they had no response. And you're going to hear a lot of the veterans say the right things. No, I thought we prepared well. I thought we did a lot of good things in practice this week. We didn't overlook them. And then you hear Zion McCollum, who may be a little bit too naive to spit out the company line when asked about the team's performance after a game like that. But there was a lot of truth to what he said. I was standing right there. He said one team was happy all week at practice, and the other team was pissed off all week at practice. And that was the major difference. You can't take anybody lightly in the NFL. 6 0-2 teams won their first game today, with the Denver Broncos being one of them. If the Buccaneers want to be taken seriously, if Baker Mayfield wants to be taken seriously, you cannot have a clunker like you had today. Losses are going to happen. Losses on the road are going to happen. But when you lose like you did today at home to a clearly inferior opponent, a rookie quarterback, that is not good enough at all. And the questions arise once again. Now you know why the people are the Bucs the real deal. Can we take the Bucs seriously? All those good vibes that the Buccaneers built up in Detroit against the Lions, gone in one day against the Denver Broncos. Does this mean that they're not a playoff team? No, I still think they're going to win the division. Does this mean their season is over? Clearly not. But you have to build consistency. You have to play to the best of your ability, regardless of the opponent, regardless of where you're playing them at what time and what part of the season. And that's something, unfortunately, the Buccaneers learned the hard way today. Shout out to my guy Scott, always tuning in, always following. Worst part was wasting a Sunday afternoon watching them, not looking prepared and flat. I am with you. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I am everywhere, and hopefully you will be too. All right, as I mentioned before, 6 0-2 teams picked up their first win of the NFL season today, but which one was the most impressive? Was it the Baltimore Ravens going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys 28-25? They ran the football. They ran the football 45 times for 274 yards. Lamar Jackson was 12 for 15 through the air, 182 yards and a touchdown. But this was one of those games where that's why you got Derrick Henry. This was one of those games that proved why you went out and you got a guy like Derrick Henry. He was incredible today. He was a monster, 2 touchdowns on the ground. And that stiff arm of Kalen Carson is something that you're going to see on highlight reels for many, many years to come. If it wasn't the Ravens, was it the Indianapolis Colts? 21-16. They were up 7-0 at the break. I know Anthony Richardson, for you got to take the good and the bad. No touchdowns through the air. He threw a couple of picks, but Jonathan Taylor, their bread and butter, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 110 yards. They got back to what has made them successful the last couple of seasons, running the football. So the Colts, now 1-2 on the seasons. Was it the Denver Broncos? We just spoke about them. Was it the Broncos going into Raymond James Stadium and beating the Buccaneers 26-7? They might have my vote. I think it's hard to believe that this was going to be the outcome of this game. Denver up 20-7 at the break. The Bucs didn't score a point in the second half. Think about that. 0 points for the Buccaneers in the second half. Bo Nix looked good. He took care of the football. They did just enough, and that defense was swarming. They were everywhere. 7 sacks, 4 field goals for Will Lutz. I mean, that is exactly what Sean Payton drew up to win this game. And Will Lutz, every single time he goes out there, you're like, oh my God, this guy again. No thanks. I don't want any more Will Lutz. Was it the New York football Giants winning 21-15 over the Cleveland Browns there in Cleveland, in Ohio? Daniel Jones, 24 of 34 for 236 yards. But the guy that stood out to me was Malik Neighbors. Two touchdown grabs, eight catches for 78 yards. He looks like one of the best receivers in all of football. Not one of the best rookie receivers, one of the best receivers in football. They line him up everywhere. He can make every single catch. He's got confidence. He's got swagger. It doesn't matter who's guarding him because that guy is going to go up and he's going to make some plays. So now the Giants are looking at themselves in the NFC East going, all right, well, Dallas is 1-2. Washington's 1-1. The Eagles are 2-1. It's so weird how one game early on in the season could kind of flip it on its head. And I still don't know what the hell's going on with Deshaun Watson. It's mind boggling. He just does not look like an NFL quarterback. The Cleveland Browns, on their first offensive play today, gained 24 yards. It was a 24-yard strike to Amari Cooper. Their next 30 plays, they picked up 25 yards. So one play, 24 yards. The next 30, 25 yards in those 30 plays. Cleveland, man, it just seems like it's going to be a long season for the Browns. Was it the Carolina Panthers? They pick up their first victory, 36-22 over the Las Vegas Raiders. And listen, congratulations to Dave Canales for his first win as a head coach in the NFL. But that switch from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton has certainly played off. Has certainly paid off. Is that going to pay dividends for the future? It's still too early to tell because I don't think Andy Dalton is the long-term answer there. But you can't argue that it was the right move for this game today. 26 of 37, 319 yards and three touchdowns. That is a huge, huge victory for the Carolina Panthers. And I love what Antonio Pierce had to say after the game. He said, guys made some business decisions out there, and now it's up to my coaching staff to make some business decisions as well. I like to hear that honesty from a young head coach. Another team who picked up their first win today, the Los Angeles Rams, 27-24 over the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners banged up, ton of injuries. They're 1-2 on the season. These two teams, it's drama, it's theater every single time these two teams play. The Rams storming back late, coming up with the touchdown, kicking the field goal, and then the San Francisco 49ers with one of the best kind of laterals at the end of the game to try to get the ball in the end zone that we've seen in recent history. They didn't make it, but they got the ball down the field probably as far as we've seen probably in the last couple of years. Great job by them, but just not good enough. And in my mind, it's hard to believe that Sean McVay isn't one of the top three coaches in the game. Like, he is amazing. So many injuries that they've had to deal with. No Puka Nakoa, no Cooper Cup, and Matthew Stafford just goes out there and he just wins. Tutu Atwell led the way today with 4 catches for 93 yards. So much love for Sean McVay and the Rams. They pick up their first win of the year. So that's the 6 right there. I think that was all 6. Did I get them all? I think I went through every single one of the teams that picked up the first win of the season. So Baltimore, yes. Indianapolis, yes. The Broncos, yes. The Giants, yes. Uh, the Carolina Panthers, yes. And then the Rams, yes. So those are the 6 teams. Let me know who you think had the most impressive first win in the NFL this season. We want to keep this conversation going as well. Love you all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. All right. So let's get to this last part. And I know a lot of people are not going to be, talking about this tonight, but I am, because this is how I roll. So a huge, huge soccer match today there across the pond as Manchester City, the number 1 team in the Premier League, takes on the number 2 team, Arsenal. Now, when you look at the table right now, Man City 1, it's Liverpool 2, and Arsenal's 4. But we know, looking back to last season, City took home the trophy and Arsenal with second. And we know a lot of the storylines here with City and Arsenal. The Arsenal leading man, Mikel Arteta, was a longtime assistant of Pep Guardiola, the manager of Manchester City. And in the matchup today, we see a 2-1 lead for Arsenal in the second half. And when you see early on in the game, you see that Arsenal and Manchester City, they're tied at 1, and then Arsenal takes the 2-1 lead. And then Leandro Trossard picks up a yellow card right before half for kicking the ball away. His second yellow card. He gets a red card. He gets tossed. So Arsenal is playing the entire second half of the match with 10 men, clinging to a 2-1 lead. And then in the 7th or 8th minute of stoppage time, they blow it. They blow it. And John Stones ends up scoring the goal to tie the game. It's a 2-2 draw. So, yeah, 8th minute and stoppage time. There was, they put 7 minutes on the clock, and it was at like 97, so it's in the 8th minute. But after the early goal from Erling Haaland in the 9th minute, then Ricardo Calafiori making his first start for Arsenal with a beautiful kick jumping in there in the 22nd minute. Gabriel, 45th minute +1. They make it 2-1. And then, as I just mentioned, Leandro Trossard with the red card. I think a lot of people will look at this game. Hey, Arsenal went to Man City, went to the Etihad, and they came away with the point. And people will say, hey, man, that's nothing to shake a stick at. You're going to one of the hardest places to play against the best team in the world, and you were able to get some semblance of a result. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as you gave that game away. You held on until the bitter end, and then when you needed a clearance, when you needed to get that ball out, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And then John Stones, of all people, not Erling Haaland, not Phil Foden, not Jack Grealish. It was a center back slash, midfielder, English international, not really known for his goal scoring, but he's a winner. He makes winning plays. And you let that goal, and I look at that as a missed opportunity, a golden missed opportunity for Arsenal to really stomp, put their foot down and be like, we're here. It is our time. But until they can see a game like that through, I still think Man City's going to win the league. You have to be able to see that game out. You can't go that entire time and then succeed a goal at the end. You just can't. You have to have that killer instinct. You started seeing more energy. You started seeing more fight. You started seeing more, the vitriol between these two teams. That's good. I mean, look back at the game tying goal if you get an opportunity to do it. Erling Haaland goes to get the ball out of the net and throws it and hits one of the defenders. I think it was either Saliba or Gabriel in the back of the head. Like he should have got a red card for that. He's definitely gonna probably that doesn't make sense. I would think that he's going to get some kind of reprimand for that because that was not cool. But I love to see those creative juices, energy. I love to see those just that fiery back and forth between these two teams. But until Arsenal can prove that they can put Man City away, they're not the kings of the Premier League. They will continuously be behind and not be good enough. Big time missed opportunity for Arsenal today. And I'm not crying for them. I'm not crying for Man City either. I think the draw was probably the best thing for all the other teams there in the UK. But you had an opportunity to make a statement today. You had them. You were up 2-1. You parked the bus. You had 5 defenders in the back. You had 4 guys in front of them. You didn't play with a striker. You were willing to kind of just sit in there and defend and defend and defend. And Man City didn't look too threatening there in the second half, taking a lot of shots from outside the box. But that's what champions do. Champions find a way. And that's why Man City is the best team in the world. I know they didn't win the Champions League last year, but to me, they're still the best. They still are Premier League champions. They have the number 1 coach. They have the best number 9. They have the best defensive midfielder. You could argue they have the second best goalie in the world in Ederson. Not good enough, Arsenal. And if you want to be champions, today was one of those games you had to win. Now, if I would have said before the contest, hey, you come away, it's 2-2, it's a draw, each team gets a point. Yeah, maybe, it depends on it. To me, it's more about the process than the result. You had the 3 points in the bag. And I could already see this conversation happening in a few months. City wins the title by 2 points. And Arsenal's just looking in the mirror like, if we would, if we would have taken care of business on September 22nd, we could be the Premier League champions. Didn't happen today. Not good enough. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody for taking time out of their day to chat with me tonight. I'm going to hit the hay here in a bit, cut up some videos first, but I'll be live on air on Jay and Zach starting at noon tomorrow on 95.3 WDAE and the AM 620. I appreciate you all. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw, after Monday Night Football right here on Recher Reacts. Peace out.